This is a demonstration of Cybercrime Center, a proof of concept for an iPhone app used by cyber agents and other first responders to conduct digital evidence gathering and basic forensics at actual crime scenes. This application was developed for a federal agency which Professor Fernandez has interaction with. The agency is looking for an easy way to provide information to cyber agents and first responders so that digital evidence gathering is performed more effectively. The development of this app started with conversations with that federal agency. We talked about goals, objectives, the intended user base, and content to include. The Department of Justice NIJ Guide for First Responders Conducting Digital Investigations was identified as a primary source, and part of the goal was to take the content in that document, simplify it, and present it in an iPhone app. As background on the use case, the federal agency's cyber agents and other first responders are on site at a crime scene and have to deal with changing circumstances. Their personal judgment is often required, but some of them may not have the level of experience to properly conduct their work. Cybercrime Center reinforces proper procedures. This is similar to airline pilots who fly every day but still use checklists to run through tasks to be performed. Cybercrime Center has the same types of checklists of tasks to be performed for digital evidence collection, principles to follow, information on forensics tools to use, and a basic understanding of legal considerations so that they will have a framework to help with their work. Cyber agents are provided with iPhones. This is part of their job and it's a government issue. They will use this app in conjunction with other applications on the phone, including camera, notes, voice memo, email, browsing, etc. Let me show a little bit about the application in the various sections. As you can see here, there's a home page. There's a section on forensics, investigation, legal, and resources. An agent accesses the application directly from their phone like any other iPhone app. As they navigate through the access content, the forensics section contains a list of tools to be used in the field. We covered many of these during the semester. Links are active, so the agents can click on them to gain additional information. The investigation section contains basic principles and procedures, such as safety being a primary consideration, following some key principles regardless of circumstance, exercising caution, etc. Part of this is to prevent cross-jurisdictional issues and ensure that legal authority is in place. An investigations checklist covers steps like preparatory steps, performing complete inventory including network connections, awareness that devices contain latent evidence such as DNA or fingerprints, checking power on-off status, and whether any destructive processes are running. The legal section contains both concepts such as admissibility, authorization, authentication, to make people aware about the requirements for warrants to perform search and seizures, maintaining chain of custody, maintaining proof that evidence has not been tampered with, proof that evidence has not been changed, as well as a section that describes some of the applicable laws for digital forensics. Fourth Amendment concerns on search and seizure, Fifth Amendment on self-incrimination, Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, Identity Theft U.S. Code, Child Pornography Protection Act. A resources section contains links for more information. We've included here links to the NYU Poly website, as well as Professor Fernandez and Mark's cyber forensics Cyforce site, Homeland Security, the Department of Justice crime scene guide, as I mentioned before, as well as the textbook to the course. As shown before, the app is presented like any other iPhone app. Users click on the icon to initiate it. They navigate through various sections through a tab bar and swipe gestures. It was developed using Xcode 5.1. This was a great experience. I've actually never developed an application for iOS. I've used Xcode before for C, even Java, and it was interesting to work with. Xcode provides a project framework. There's stock functionality, Objective-C code that can be modified, Storyboard Framework, a simulation environment, which I was using to show the application itself. The Storyboard Framework contains configuration information for the views that are shown. This represents the application flow. It's where the individual view controllers are configured. As you can see here, there are implementation files and header files. This app delegate file is a basic file that initiates the application and the view controllers as objects. The implementation and header files form classes. The delegate creates view controller objects, which are instantiated in memory, and handles basic functions like launching the app, releasing memory, transitioning state, terminating the application. View controllers use the storyboard information to present the content. The storyboard has configuration parameters that help create those specific views. With Xcode development, it's really a combination of design decisions, user experience, including presentation and navigation, application flow, content development, configuration, and coding. A lot of time is spent configuring each view controller with the underlying views, actions, type of data to be presented, and layout. You can see here in the right-hand section much of the configuration parameters that you work with. A lot of the configuration comes down to how you navigate screens. So, for example, implementing gestures for each of the views, things like scrolling, text to be presented. It's a combination of many of toolbox items here that you then present in these views. The paradigm that I followed with the tab bar controller is one method. There are others. I used clearly the NYU Poly logo as well as the one for Cypher. Configuration is required to size these logos correctly. It's again that combination between design, coding, and creating a narrative. So in closing, if digital evidence is compromised during the collection, transfer, storage process, if legal authority is not established or federal law is violated, an investigation can be compromised, resulting in a perpetrator not being brought to justice. Cybercrime Center can be updated at any time with additional content. Changes are pushed out to the agents using the Apple App Store updates functionality, and it can be extended over time to include additional information, sections, or integration with other tools. It can be used by cyber agents and first responders both during their work and at off times, like when they're commuting into the office and want to improve their knowledge of digital forensics. This project enabled me to gain exposure to iOS development, which I'd never done before. I was interested in the digital forensics processes and legal aspects, and being able to read through the materials in the textbook and other sources and applying it within this application was educational to me. We hope the federal agency will be able to use this Cybercrime Center application proof of concept to gain funding for development and implementation, and of course to help agents and first responders with their work.